One bit at halftime. Is it 24, 31, 7 at halftime?
Yeah.
65
7.
and 7.
I'm like, oh, maybe, this might be, because they moved the ball on the field, and I was listening to stuff during the day, and I'm like, this is going to be over by halftime.
Yeah.
Alright. Your guests, hey, how are you? Get some water? Anybody need anything downstairs? No, I'm good then. We should just scan
Mary? I made it. What?
Oh, hello, Mary. How are the holidays?
Very well. How much yours?
Good, good.
Mike? That's what she gave you. Dawn? Yes, look at that. Thank you. Sure. Yeah. Yes, Jenny. So this is the optional veterans tax credit for veterans who served during time of conflict. This one is for all the veterans who served during time of conflict. The amount's the same. Just take that for the laws and state it. Get eligibility of all veterans. We should agree. Agree. Is it working?
I'm going there right now. I don't have a link to the meeting. Is the link on the 6 o'clock?
I bet
It is.
it is.
That's no big.
What's the,
It's sitting there right about, yeah, it's working. One more minute. All right, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call this budget hearing to order. For those of you who have gathered here, tonight is the budget hearing where the select board will present the budget and the town warrant for the upcoming town meeting in March of 2023. There's only a presentation of this. We certainly will be available if there are any questions, be happy to answer them. But this is not a meeting to make any changes or amendments to any of the warrants. That'll take place at the deliberative session, which will be on February 7th. Thank you, sir. February 7th. So tonight, for the budget hearing, we'll present the warrant articles, and the first one being Article 1 with the budget. So I'll read Article 1. Shall the town of Newfields raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with a warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $1,959,728. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $1,898,962, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Newfields or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 4013, sections 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. The select board recommends the $1,959,728 as set forth on said budget. So with that, we'll go through the operating budget. Hopefully you all have a copy of that, which has the various operating lines that we'll walk down.
The one that says this one.
Yes, starts budget Town of Newfields 2023. So the first section on that is general government. This includes basically the offices downstairs, legal expenses. It also includes our cemeteries, general government, planning expenses, valuation of property, elections, vital statistics. Any questions about any of the individual lines on the general government section? Any comments the board wants to make about general government?
Good.
All right, we'll move to public safety. Public safety includes obviously police, ambulance, fire, building inspection, and emergency management. Any comments? The last street section. Any comments from either of you at all with respect to that? I will note that there's a large increase in this section of the budget, mainly because these are mostly personnel costs with inflation where it is. We certainly want to keep and retain our employees. This is, I would say, an important aspect of recognizing what this budget does over last year. And this section by far has, most of the personnel that are directly employed. The fire budget, as noted over the prior 2 years, we've been increasing to basically keep us at a semi-volunteer type fire department. Those are why the major increases are there. But I'll open it up for questions within the audience. Any questions?
Does this include any additional hires or just
No.
additional salary for?
These are basically the existing personnel for all those.
Just, sorry, I missed a question.
Sure.
About the insurance in the general government.
Oh, absolutely. Feel free.
Is there a jump? I'm just knowing inflation is going crazy, insurance rates are changing. Was that like a one-time cost? There was actual expenditures higher?
Yeah, there were some one-time costs in the prior year. But that's why you see that it's basically slightly larger year over year. There's some one-time fees dealing with some individuals on the insurance plans. All right. If there's no other questions about public safety, I'll move on. Highways and streets. This is basically our plowing services, salting, paving, as well as public works, cleaning out our stormwater system, etc. So this is basically mostly that, and the street lighting comes under highways and streets. Any questions about that line? No? You guys are making this easy. Sanitation, this is our trash collection, our recycling, and our spring cleanup line items. Any questions on those lines?
I just wanted to mention that, last week we decided to take out 5,500 for spring cleanup,
Correct.
and 1,000 of that was for the household hazardous waste. I don't believe I told you.
No.
So we left that in.
So,
Oh, that's, okay.
Yeah.
and
I was wondering if it was the extra.
if we could
That-
draw
yeah.
on that, we might still be able to participate, so I put 1,000 back in.
That's the
Thank
answer.
you.
Yeah, that's the extra hazardous waste that
Yeah.
it covers our costs.
Yep.
Yes?
On the recycling and specifically to like the cardboard
Mhm.
drop off, has there been any feedback from the community regarding, like, I know whenever I go, it's always full and have to, like, is there a two dumpster option that would like slightly increase this? Has that been talked about or feedback from anyone?
So there's no real cost associated with that. It's actually an offset for what we have there. We have it, we're now up to what, two?
2 times a week, but Jim and I talked, and we have a new plan that whenever that is full, I will just send him an email,
Oh.
and he will come and pick it up.
So we're trying to address it. We get a lot of discussion about that. Elm, who is our provider, has been, I would say, very easy to work with in terms of, trying to help us figure out all of that. We've had it up for a year now. It's gone well. People certainly are using it. If we need to get a bigger dumpster or if we need to do it more often, we try to do that.
Also on the recycling side, is there any options that they offer for glass recycling programs at all?
So when we entered into the recycling contract, glass wasn't included because, one, there's no real market for recycled glass, and two, just the sheer weight of it dramatically increases your recycling costs. The focus, I think, certainly when we were having the discussions, was trying to ensure that as much stuff that we put into the recycling stream is going to actually get recycled as opposed to just hauled away and dumped somewhere at a higher cost to the town. At this point in time, no, but the contract is up in 2 more years.
We just signed it for.
We just signed it, we just signed the trash for 3.
Okay.
Recycling, I think, is 2 more years, so we can revisit it when the contract comes up.
And I did speak to Jim, an ancillary issue today, we talked about the glass, there's absolutely zero market for glass in this town.
It's the other reason why you have to separate out the plastics that you actually put in the recycling, because they only take what they can actually recycle. So that's why you can't have number 5s in there, because they don't get recycled. So Jim's really great about making sure that we're actually paying for services that we're able to use.
And getting the value for it. Other questions about sanitation, trash, recycling, cleanup? No? Great. Next section is the health section. This is pest control, is mosquito spraying or larviciding, and the health agencies. Any comments you guys want to make on that? No? So you'll notice the pest control is zeroed out. There's actually a warrant article dealing with mosquitoes that we put for the town to make a determination about spending there. One thing to recognize about the budget, given the year of inflation, cost of everything going up, paving costs, salt costs, personnel costs, we've tried to identify those areas that there's some flexibility, and then those that we think the town may want to decide to spend money on, we've identified warrant articles, but we'll get into those in a minute. Other questions about the health lines? All right, welfare line was flatlined at $4,000 a year. This is basically direct service from the town to help those in need in town. People who fall behind, deal with the electric bill, people who are on fixed income and have a hard time with heating oil costs. We have the availability of direct assistance for that. That's what that line is. Any questions?
Is that an application program?
Yes, they have to apply for it. Hobie is actually our welfare officer. He'll review the applications, discuss the situation with the individuals, and make a determination as to whether to use a portion of the budget as support. All right, Culture and Recreation, this is basically the library, the celebration committee, Parks and Rec line items. The largest increase is on the library, and that we're going to have to go out to find a new library director. Carl is leaving us, unfortunately, and the expectation is, we may have to spend a little more money to get a new library director. Any other questions regarding culture and recreation? Conservation, that's the Conservation Commission, mainly dealing with the preservation of the easements under their control, as well as supporting some of the conservation groups that deal with the Piscassic and the Lamprey. I think there's some Lamprey River fees in there as well. Pretty basic. Any questions about conservation? Yes.
What's the $5 cutter?
So, it used to be that money was set aside on that line for anticipation of conservation. Basically, when the town went forward for the bonds for the open space, out in basically all the conservation land in the middle of town here, the town went out and bonded for millions of dollars. And the agreement with the Conservation Commission at the time was, we're not going to be putting money into there until those bonds are paid off. And so this keeps the line open in case something comes up, we're able to spend money. But for the most part, it's basically a placeholder amount, recognizing that at some point in time, we're going to go back to what we were doing before. And typically when we got current use fees, would go into that budget, and they'd be able to spend that on conservation efforts. So. All right. Debt service. These are, speaking of which, these are the notes that we are paying off. Those will be paid down in 2026. So we're almost done on those bonds. We've been paying them for 15, 16, 17 years maybe. So we're towards the end of those bonds. It's about $68,000 a year. So as you can see on the last page, as indicated in the warrant, our operating budget expenditures are $1,959,728. And then we'll get into these other warrant articles. If you go to page 6, just real quick, this is the revenue side of the ledger. Take a quick look. I mean, the lines here are basically our general taxation, licensing permits, room and meals tax, grants. What's not included here is our property taxes are not included here, as these are more the permits and fees revenues as opposed to the property tax revenues. But you can see everything there. Anybody have a question about the taxes and fees? All right, and if you do, just raise your hand and we'll go back. With that, we'll go now to the other warrants on the town warrant. Article 2. Shall the town vote to re-adopt the optional veterans tax credit under RSA 7228 in the amount of $500 to expand the eligibility requirements to include individuals who have not yet been discharged from service in the armed forces? This is recommended by the Select Board 3 to 0. Any questions about warrant Article 2? Okay. Article 3, shall the town vote to re-adopt the all veterans tax credit under RSA 7228B in the amount of $500 to expand the eligibility requirements to include individuals who have not yet been discharged from service in the armed forces? Recommended by the Select Board 3 to 0. Any questions about that one? No? Okay. Article 4. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the fire truck capital reserve fund previously established for the future purchase of a new fire truck to be funded by $50,000 from the December 31st, 2022 fund balance? No money to be raised from taxation. Recommended by the select board, 3-0. Any questions about Article 4? Any comments too? You guys feel free to jump in. No?
Is we just moved here, we came from Mass, so I was
Yeah.
New Hampshire a little
Sure.
bit. The December 31, 2022 fund balance,
Mhm.
is that like free cash?
So it's not free cash. The undesignated fund balance is basically the accumulation of excess taxation over the years. So let's say we budgeted for $2 million, but we only ended up spending $1.95 million for that year. That $50,000 will find its way into the unreserved fund balance. It's available for future dates, kind of like a rainy day fund. And that undesignated fund balance is also used at the end of the year to basically set the tax rate. So we can offset some of the anticipated revenues to basically lower the tax rate for the prior year. So it basically setting the December portion of your tax rate. So we could offset it, let's say by $100,000, and instead of getting a municipal tax rate of $3.80, it might be $3.70. So that's really what the undesignated fund balance is used for. And you can also use it in situations like this, where it will be utilized for the money going into the capital reserve fund. That won't then hit your property tax. It'll stay off the property tax that way.
So is there a balance in this unreserved fund?
Yes. The capital, our unreserved fund is about $1 million at this point in time. The fire truck capital reserve fund, I think is $350,000. This will make it $400,000 roughly.
I thought it was more than that.
Oh, you did?
I thought it was before.
Okay.
It could be 4 going to 450. Yeah, it might be. It's in that range.
Yeah.
And the idea is that somewhere around $500,000, maybe a little more, would be able to afford to get the fire truck. We do it this way, so it's not all at once. And, we're basically saving money up to do a large purchase as a town.
And does the town have a goal for how much money you want to keep in that unreserved fund? account?
So, under state law, we need more than 5% of our total operating budget, which includes schools, our county lines, as well as our municipal line. And our maximum allowable is 17%. We're currently around 13, 14%. Over the last 7 years or so, we've moved from about 6% up to where we are now. As I said, it's kind of a rainy day fund, and it certainly helps us. Taxes steadily go up, but it keeps it from being volatile. I mean, nobody wants a really low property tax bill and then a really high one the next year. By utilizing the unreserved fund balance, we can kind of keep it, so people can budget for it. It's just easier that way, and I think it's, a more responsible way of dealing with the town's finances.
The last question.
Yeah, feel free.
When do we purchase our current fire truck?
When?
Like, how old is it?
Oh, well, we have 3 fire trucks, right? And the newest one is probably 8 to 10 years old, maybe.
We're getting ready to need a new one.
Yeah. The oldest one is like 25 years old.
It's worth about.
Are they all engines? Are they sort of ladder?
No, there's a pumper truck. There's the large rescue truck, and there's something else.
The old one's an old pumper.
Old pumper, and that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
And that's the one that's about worth 15 to 20,000.
Yeah, that's the one we're gonna eventually retire. It's getting to a point now where the maintenance just isn't working. Any other questions about Article 4? All right, Article 5. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,000 to be added to the fire department equipment capital reserve fund previously established? Recommended by the select board 3-0. This capital fund is basically for things like emergency equipment, the jaws of life. We've had to acquire some special washing machines and dryers for what they wear, because they were taking it home and doing it in their washing. There's, sometimes dangerous particulates there, so they do a special washing machine. It's that kind of equipment that is ended up being purchased from this type of capital reserve fund. Any questions about Article 5? No? All right. Article 6. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the 175th town celebration festivities? Recommended by the select board 3-0. Nothing. The 175th town celebration will take place in 2024. So last year we raised $5,000 for this. This is for a second $5,000 just to have funds to specifically deal with the celebration committee. Will be managing it, but they'll be doing it. They want to raise more money and get the town support for that, specifically for that event. Any questions? No? Article 7. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $329,500 for the repair and improvement of the stormwater infrastructure on Summer and Pleasant Streets, to be funded by up to $155,900 in loans from the New Hampshire Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which may be forgiven, $100,000 from the December 31st, 2022 fund balance, and the remainder $73,600 from general taxation. Recommended by the select board 3-0. So the town was awarded a grant of basically a loan that may be forgiven from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund to basically upgrade our stormwater pipes and systems on Summer Street, which is the street here by the field, and Pleasant Street, which is the main street down there, which is in need of repair. So we may be receiving basically about half those funds from the state, with the recommendation from the select board to utilize $100,000 from the fund balance and then the remainder from general taxation, trying to minimize the impact of that large project on the property tax rate. Any questions about Article 7? No? You guys are easy. Article 8. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $31,200 for the construction of rain gardens for runoff and collection and treatment at the Town Hall and the Paul Memorial Library, to be funded by up to $8,700 in loans from the New Hampshire Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which may be forgiven, and $22,300 from the December 31st, 2022 fund balance. Recommended by the select board 3-0.
My math comes up with 22.5 on that instead of 22.3, unless I'm missing something.
No, you are correct. We'll have to amend that at deliberative. We'll just amend it at deliberative.
So it should be 22.5.
To get to the 31.2. Because that only gets us to 31. Those two. Very good.
3 minutes.
Questions about that? Basically, we're going to build a rain garden here at Town Hall and one at the library. Certainly the library needs it. They're notorious for having flooding issues in the basement there. So hopefully this will help address some of that. All right, Article 9. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,000 for the purpose of mosquito control by town-wide larvicide services, treatment of standing bodies of water? Not recommended by the select board 0-3. So while the select board is not recommending this, we did feel that we should put this up to the town for a vote. Given that, again, we are looking for money in the operating budget, to basically minimize the about 8% increase year over year with respect to the budget. But we did feel that certainly as this has been an issue in the town in the past, that the town should have the ability to vote this money back in if they so choose. So, yes, sir.
Just wondering why it was voted to not be recommended. What are you guys recommending?
I have a history of not supporting these types of programs. My biggest concern is, and has always been, that while people like some of the mosquito spraying, regular requests for documentation on the effectiveness of what they're doing has always been lacking. So I have never really supported the town spending money for something that it's not even sure is doing anything. That was my rationale for this. I just haven't supported these in the past, and until somebody can show me that it's effective, I'm reluctant to spend taxpayer money on it.
And I actually wanted to change my recommendation to it. We have seen some data from her showing that it's effective, so I think we should raise that money to make sure that mosquitoes are taken care of away from the landscape.
Okay. But we'll have to change that
Yeah.
in terms of the
Any
numbers.
little changes like that can be done before the budget's posted, according to Michelle.
Okay.
I spoke to her, which is something.
Okay.
I heard her.
Great.
So hopefully I can just change.
Make the
that
change.
25 to.
And if she says that we have to do it deliberately, we can always make a change there. Yep. Okay.
And enough of my mindset on it is let the town vote on it, have their way on it. With the fiscal budget situation that we're dealing with, that to me was a more appropriate way. And I'm just concerned about the expenditures and the impact on some of our citizens spending, trying to cut the budget, minimize the amount of tax increase that they're going to have to experience this year.
Other questions on Article 9? No? The last one, Article 10. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,500 for the purpose of preparing the sidewalk and steps at Town Hall, recommended by the Select Board 2-1? Do you want to talk about this? Okay. This is your project. I shouldn't say your project, but you certainly have been a strong advocate for it.
Yes, I believe that we should have safe stairs from the driveway to the building.
Yeah, this will basically deal with the steps leading from the driveway up to the main level here at Town Hall.
They don't drain properly, they're not straight, it creates a hazard for people coming up and down those stairs from the lower lot. So that is the purpose of that money, is to make sure that those sidewalk and those stairs are better accessible.
Any questions on Article 10? No? All right, any other questions from the general public as part of the budget hearing? Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the right time, but it's my first interaction with it. Just going back to some of the electric side of things with all the increased costs we're seeing, has there been any exploration into anything the town can do for solar power and any of the town-owned properties to help offset some of that electrical increased costs? Or is that
So the only the water treatment plant has a solar system down in town. Now the water department isn't actually a department of the town. They had the land to be able to do it, so they entered into that their own contract with respect to that. Outside of that, the town doesn't own a whole lot of land, so it's somewhat a problem. We certainly, there's been some discussions about it, but nobody has really come up with a real program for us to, I think, take a look at and pursue. I think most of the town buildings, this is basically the only other town building we own, this and the fire department. There's no real land associated with either of those for certainly a sizable system. So it's, we're certainly limited by kind of our real estate as to what we could possibly do.
it's like the rain gardens is like, a rooftop system for this, or even that elementary school, something that's possible to look into?
So the school is actually run by the SAU, not by the town. The school board has authority there. The problem with this building, and to some extent the fire department, I believe is there's a whole lot of shade here. in terms of this building. I'm not sure we'd get a whole lot out of it, but as I said, I don't think anybody's really looked at it in depth. Mainly because, most towns that do that, they will do it, they'll own the water department, and they'll do it like the water department did here on big area with a larger system. Brentwood has the one down by the fire department, huge field that the town owns. We don't own anything like that, unfortunately. So it's just much more problematic for us at this point in time.
If that was a request in the future, would that be for the select board, or would that be for the planning committee, or who would kind of lead that?
The select board, probably. Certainly I would talk, the planning board certainly would probably weigh in. I don't know if there's any zoning restrictions. Obviously, the town is not really limited by those, but probably would be worthwhile to talk to them as well.
And I know that town planner was interested in putting together a capital improvement plan. We need one of those. And he was going to be looking for community input. So that would be a good opportunity to join those conversations too and throw those ideas in.
And that's at the planning board.
The other thing we've also looked into is alternative energy source providers. The problem is with those, they can offer you some good rates, but they're long-term contracts, 3 years. And the contracts are written such that even though they warrant that you can break the contract at your discretion, it's not within the four corners of the document. And I'm waiting to hear back from the PUC on their rate on that, because it's a good lower rate per kilowatt hour with like direct energy than it is with Eversource. But if you're locked in with a 3-year contract, there's an issue there as well. Okay, the rates have dropped, and now we need to get out of this without suffering a penalty or loss. So that's one of those four-corner legality issues that is still in the air.
Other questions?
Do you put, so if, when you recommended budget, do you have sort of like the average home values, with the average taxpayer will pay with the increase, any sort of numbers like that?
Typically, we haven't really done anything in terms of the average homeowner. The tax rate last year for the year was 370 something, 380 on the municipal line.
Yep.
The overall tax rate being something on the order of about $22 and change. Most of that is really the state education line and the local education line. The county line's about $1. The municipal line's about, a little under $4 at this point in time. But we don't, we typically haven't done what you're saying. It's certainly something I guess we could address if at some point in time we feel we need to address it. I don't even know what the average home in Newfields is worth. I mean, put it this way, at $400,000, right, you're looking at, 400 times $4. So the municipal line would be about $1,600 a year in the municipal line. The other lines would be about 18 times 4, which is 3670, it's about 7,200. So 1,200 for the town and about 7,200 for the education county. Yes, sir.
So just to make sure I'm reading this right too, well, the operating budget will only seem like a 8% increase. If all the warrant articles are approved, we're really looking at more of a 25% increase in taxes this year.
No, because, so you have to take the operating budget, you add the warrant articles, but then it's lowered by, you're looking at about estimated amount of taxes to be raised. At the end of the day, this goes back to the unrestricted fund balance, which we typically use to offset. So if our revenues come in higher, if there are, more car registrations, that number typically changes. Typically, our tax rate over the last 6 years has gone up by about 1 to 2%. So, we've been able to manage it in the context of that without, this is basically, kind of almost a worst case scenario, so to speak. But typically, it's gone up by a couple of percent every year for about the last 6 or 7 years.
So how is that part, or when is that part figured out to, like, what the offset is?
December. it's usually at the end of the year, November, December timeframe, we'll set the tax rate for December. You basically will pay your July, half of the estimated tax in July, and then in December, we'll set the final rate, and we'll utilize, if we chose, if the board finds it prudent, they'll utilize some of the unreserved fund balance to basically adjust that tax rate based upon what has occurred over the year.
For some of your line item budgets.
Yep.
Columns.
Exactly. Yep.
And you can see, it's a little confusing, I know, trying to match this document with this, right? But if you're looking at that warrant article for the stormwater, right? That 329.5, even though that's here on the bottom of the warrant articles, and the next two pages when you're looking at the sources of revenues,
Take out.
yes, it's taken out at the back on the last page where it says amount voted from fund balance. So that's the money that we would take out of the fund balance. Plus there's
Okay.
loans that would be forgiven as part of it. So the numbers look a little bit,
High.
Yes.
510 minus the
Right.
162.
right, so we're not necessarily raising all of that money in the warrant articles through taxation, but that's what all of the warrant articles together would cost. And then it all shakes out at the end of the balance sheet.
Exactly. Yep. Good point.
Nice catch.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn the budget hearing for our fiscal year 2023 budget. Everybody, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all very much. No? Do you know something I should know?
Yes. We are just over there.
Easy peasy. And the next one will be harder. So did you go to the, where's that? Green, did you go to the, budget? Yeah. Oh, yeah. When we went to SB2, for 3 years, I tried to go back and we got 53, 60. But